Mia? Ah! Oh! Mamma mia! Oh, Jesus!
That doesn't belong here. Get that out of the way. So Midsommar is a movie about white people doing weird shit. The end. So I saw Midsommar. I saw the Midsommar movie, and it's weird. It's a weird movie. It was directed by the same guy that directed Hereditary. I didn't see Hereditary. A lot of people were saying that Hereditary is a great movie. I don't know. But this movie is not scary, but I think it was trying to be scary, and it didn't do a good job of being scary. I think because the scary parts were advertised so far in advance that when they happened, they didn't bring any kind of scary with them. And then a lot of the other parts happened off screen, so you see the scary coming, and then the stuff that you shouldn't have saw coming happened off screen anyway. And I'm talking about, so here's the thing with the movie. It's very emotional, I will give it that. There's some very intense emotions in the movie, and it's because of the main character, woman's name, I don't remember her name, but her family dies early on in the movie, and it's done in such a way that I thought that it was going to play out through the rest of the movie with this death, and it doesn't. That doesn't factor into it at all, except her grief. So I guess maybe that's what it was going for. So her grief, and she cries a lot throughout the whole movie, and it's like I said, it's not scary, and it's very slow moving. It's a very, 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 very slow moving movie, which sounds kind of weird to say, but the pacing of it is very drawn out for at least, I don't know, almost like an hour and 40 minutes of the whole movie is just so slow, and it's just so slow. And in normal cases, like with something like David Fincher's Seven, that build up has a really great payoff at the end of it. So it takes time to tell your story, build the characters, build that tension, and so by the time it reaches the third act of the story, it all catches up, and it really has a great payoff, especially with that box scene in Seven, and a lot of other movies that have really slow burns, but then they build up and they lead up to something. Midsommar. I feel like I'm saying Midsommar, so I'm gonna just say Midsommar. All right. So Midsommar doesn't feel like there's any payoff to all that build up. You know, it's like an hour and 40 minutes of just slow, and there's emotions, and you see a lot of the, I guess, backstory of this cult that she gets kind of tricked into going to visit in Sweden, and all that buildup seems to go nowhere by the end of the movie. Like I said, you see a lot of the horrific stuff really from a mile away. There's no jump scares, thankfully, but because everything is so photographed in advance, you know, there's no tension because of that. And so that's why I thought it's not scary on that level, but also because it's shot during the daytime. The whole thing is during the daytime.
Welcome and happy midsummer. Skål!
What time is it?
9 p.m.
That can't be right. The sky is blue.
This is what 9 p.m. is like here.
Except for a couple very brief nighttime scenes that involve kind of like dreams, or I guess the word dreams, or maybe hallucinations. And so the whole thing is really shot during the daytime, and I think my brain specifically, but I think it kind of applies to the general public, is that we've been conditioned to fear things that happen in the dark, right? The whole saying about things go bump in the night isn't just someone's, you know, idea, just came out of nowhere. It applies to our evolutionary status as human beings, that things, you're more alert at night because dangerous things happen that you can't see at nighttime. So, and that's kind of the basis of a lot of horror stories that are more popular. You know, Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy Krueger literally comes at you while you're sleeping at night. You know, so with this movie taking place during the daytime, I think sort of that visceral part of our core being of fearing things at night kind of goes out the window, really. Yeah, because it's like, how are you to be scared of all these people? I mean, they're doing a lot of weird things, and there's a lot of drug use involved to kind of, let's say, massage this girl into being less prohibitive and to be more acquiescing to what they're doing. So, but that's separate from the horror part, you know, because to see things happen, well, you don't see a lot of the horrible stuff happen, except for the one scene where the old lady and the old guy jump off of that cliff. But the rest of the stuff, you don't see any of the gore happen with the British guy and his fiance. That's not shown. They just kind of disappear, and the cult leaders give the rest of the crowd some lame excuse that I don't think anyone in real life would believe, right? And so, and then the other guy, Mark, that's that kid that has the eyebrows like the Batman cowl, not Batman, just the Batman cowl. It's like permanent. I don't know how that kid's face stays like that. But anyway, he disappears, and then Chidi from A Good Place, The Good Place, he can't help himself, so he gets disappeared. And you find out later on that they all got murdered, clearly, but you don't see how they got murdered. You just see them there in this little hut. And I know I'm seeming very vague. I'm not describing everything that happened in the movie, and that's because it's kind of like a weird movie to describe. I mean, the action beats that go on, like I said, there's a lot of build up to them, but there's no great payoff at the end. It just seems to be like just more intense emotions and crying, and that's really about it. Like, for instance, the movie starts off with the main character's parents being killed, and then she's grieving, and she's kind of worried about her relationship with her boyfriend, and so the boyfriend seems kind of a dick, and she feels kind of bad for relying on him for so much. So the whole thing with relationships in this movie is very well done, right? It shows you kind of like a realistic take on how people actually interact with each other when someone's having a lot of drama in their life, and they're not like some selfish prick that just thinks about themselves. They're actually concerned how the other person feels that they're being leaned on so much. And so that's a really good positive for the movie. And again, the emotions and the relationships and the reactions for that part are very well done, you know. And the friendships also seems very organic, seems very realistic. It's just once they get up to Sweden and they start popping mushrooms, the movie just becomes weird and just, I don't know, kind of disjointed. And I think that's part because of the effects they want to convey that the mushrooms are having on the main girl, because they don't show you how the mushrooms affect, well, they do show you. They show you how the mushrooms affect the main woman and her boyfriend, right? And it's really cool, it's really well done with the way the camera work is done, and they show you the pupils dilating. So that's all really well done. But then again, that's a small part of the movie. It's not like the horror part doesn't really factor into that. Yes, the drugs, it's not drugs, it's mushrooms. Yes, the shrooms help them become more manageable as far as resisting the cult, but they're not putting it into any danger. The woman's not put into any danger at all, and then her boyfriend is only put into danger near the last 10 minutes of the movie. So again, the shrooms don't play much of a role in this horror flick or whatever, this thriller. I don't know what it's supposed to be described as in a genre. So once they get to Sweden, hardly any nighttime, so it just seems like one long day for a good part of it. And the thing with the cult is they're kind of like prepping her to be their new, I don't know, midsummer queen or something like that. And they require sacrifices, and one of the classmates, or I mean, these are millennials, mid-20s or something like that, and they're all in university. And so one of her classmates, he's Swedish, and he invites the group of friends, her boyfriend, and two other friends, Chidi and the Mark guy, to Sweden to go visit the family. And it's this festival, Midsummer Festival. And so right there, I'm like thinking, if they don't decide to go there, or if she doesn't decide to go there, then the movie's done, right? So, because it all becomes very convenient later on when they have the exact number of sacrifices they need for this ritual thing that they do. But the whole thing with the story behind the Midsummer Festival, it's explained in pictures, very rudimentary pictures, which I thought was gonna be like a backstory to why they're doing it, kind of like the legends of, whatever, but it's actually turned out to be basically instructions on how to do the Midsummer thing. And the thing with the hair pie, it's like I said, it's a weird movie. It wasn't scary. It was interesting for a little bit when I was like, because I like history and I like learning about the origin of things. And so when I was looking at the pictures and like, oh, okay, that's pretty interesting, and how everything was depicted in a certain way. And then I was like, oh, okay, so that's cool. But they never explained really any of the stuff, because like I said, it's all instructions on what they're to do with all these people. And so I saw that whole thing coming a mile away. Okay, so this is gonna happen to these people at some point. But again, they don't show that stuff happening to those people unless, oh really, I guess the burning is what they show already at the end. The burning and the thing with the bear. The boyfriend, he's not the perfect boyfriend, but he's not someone you would hate in the movie, right? But anyway, by the end of the movie, this cult has him paralyzed and he's unable to speak. And there's this bear that they had on the compound. So part of this ritual is they have these sacrifices, and one of the sacrifices apparently has to be a human stuffed inside of a bear. And what they did was they slaughtered this bear, emptied out its abdomen, and then put the boyfriend in the bear. And it's like a bear suit guy, and all the other visitors are in this hut, and they all got killed as part of this ritual. And I couldn't find a message in this movie. It wasn't scary, so I looked for a message, right? And I couldn't find a message in this movie, unless it was, hey, don't trust Swedes, which I don't think that's what it was. I think it was going more for like a be wary of groups, or be wary of cults, basically, right? I think that's maybe what the movie was going for. I'm not sure. Because cults have this playbook where they do prey on people who are going through hard times. That's where their members come from, is when you're feeling alone and lost and you're grieving over a loved one or something. That's when cults really just trying to say, come join our little group. We have all the answers. Our leader will help solve all your problems. As if it's kind of like a cult going on in America right now, where just people living in just such abject disappointment with their lives that they'll just believe anything this cult leader will say or do, even though their eyes and their ears report differently. So I think that's what the movie may have been going for. I'm not sure, but it wasn't scary. It was interesting for a little bit. The deaths do not happen on screen, you never see them, so it's not like it's shocking in that way. And there was the major positive thing I would say is like the relationships between the friends. That's very well done. The relationship between the boyfriend and the girlfriend are very well done. The psychedelic stuff with the shrooms, those effects are very well done. And the cinematography of the movie, it's a gorgeous movie. It's a very, very pretty movie. But beyond that, I don't get it. It's not something that I could recommend, because unlike with like Child's Play, it's not a terrible movie, but it's so bizarre and not in an artistic way. It just seems bizarre. Maybe it's a storytelling format. Maybe, like I said, it's the daytime horror thing. I don't know. Check it out, I guess. If I had to give it a rating, I really would give it just like a 5. But maybe I'd give it a 6 out of 10. I really would. I'd give it a 6 out of 10 because the positives outweigh the negatives. But if it was trying to be a horror movie, it failed miserably at that. Not a horror movie at all. Maybe unnerving would be the best way to describe it. Unnerving at times, but scary horror, no, not a chance. Yeah, so that's it for this review. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.
I was most excited for you to come.